Namaste, good morning, and welcome to the Vedanta Society of Greater Houston. Om yo brahmanam vidadhati purvam yo vedangscha prahinoti tasmai tam hadevam atmabuddhi prakasham mumukshurvai sharanamaham prapadye. We who seek liberation take refuge in that infinite luminous being who illuminates the hearts of all, who is the source of the Creator himself and is the repository of the infinite knowledge, Veda. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Om peace, peace, peace be unto us all. So this morning, the topic is the first in a series that I'm calling Basic Concepts. And so this one is, what is Dharma? The purpose of this is that we need to occasionally go back to the basics in every subject, because there are many things that we assume about what those fields of knowledge that we have, those that we have studied some, but oftentimes without going deeper and deeper into the basic concepts, we fail to put together a larger picture which is coherent and integrated. And so this is a series that we're beginning today on the basic concepts of Vedanta. And I wanted to start with the Dharma, not because it's the most fundamental principle. The most fundamental principle would be Brahman, Atman, Atman Brahman, the supreme reality itself. But I wanted to start with Dharma because in our daily life, it's extremely important. And it brings in certain other concepts as well. And so it serves as a good entry point into the basic concepts. Examples of the concepts are, besides Dharma, concepts like karma. In fact, the next basic concept I wish to take up next month is karma, the law of karma or the theory of karma, depending on whether one thinks that it's a law or a theory. The Atman, of course, and Brahman, moksha, and many other things, rebirth, and so on. And so we'll begin with Dharma. Dharma is extremely important, of course, in the Hindu tradition and the Vedanta tradition. The very name of the tradition for some is the Sanatana Dharma, the eternal Dharma. So what is Dharma? That's what we're going to get into. So I won't translate that yet. But the Sanatana Dharma, the eternal Dharma, or, well, to give a simple translation, which is not accurate, but serves as a placeholder, the eternal religion, or the eternal truth. And of course, in modern India, the flag of the modern political state, India, has in the center the Dharma Chakra. That was a Buddhist symbol, the Dharma Chakra. It was believed that when a Buddha comes into the world, once in an eon, at very rare intervals of time, a Buddha is born, a full Buddha, fully enlightened Buddha is born. And the Buddha sets in motion the Dharma Chakra. That is, he comes and gives once again the teachings to the world on how to attain to liberation. And so the Dharma Chakra was chosen as a symbol to put in the center of the Indian flag because of the importance of Dharma. And as we'll see, not just to Buddhism, in fact, not principally to Buddhism. It's a symbol of all of the Dharma traditions. You know, the Abrahamic traditions, those traditions which trace themselves back to Abraham, the first prophet, unless you count Adam as a prophet. But Abraham in the Jewish Bible, which is called the Torah, which the Christians call the Old Testament, and it's the story is honored by the Muslims as well. Abraham was the one who taught the unity of God and the unique and exclusive unity of God. And so the traditions which descend from Abraham, first through Judaism, and then branching off into Christianity and Islam, those are called the Abrahamic traditions. But the traditions in India are nowadays sometimes called, this is a new terminology, but they're called the Dharma traditions or the Dharmic traditions. But Dharma traditions is better. All of them accept the idea of Dharma, all of the traditions coming out of India, whether Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, etc. So all of the Dharma traditions accept the importance of Dharma. So now for the word itself, Dharma, the word itself, it's derived from a Sanskrit root, dhr, D-H-R, with a dot under it. Dhr. In some parts of India, it's pronounced like among Bengalis and North Indians, it's often pronounced dhri. And Maharashtrians and some South Indians pronounce it dhru. But it's often thought by scholars that the correct pronunciation was between dhri and dhru. That is, as in English, when we say the word purdy, we don't say pretty, but we say pretty, at least in American English. I don't know how the British pronounce it, but in American English, we say pretty. And so that sound, dhr, dhr, R as a vowel. So dhr means to hold, to sustain, to support. That's the root meaning of dhr. And so dharma is said to be dharyate anena iti dharma, that which supports. That which supports. Dharyate, a simpler derivation is dharyate iti dharma, that which holds, that which supports everything. So how that came to mean what we think of as dharma now, that's the subject of the lecture. So we'll get into that. But first, it's important to know that it comes from a root meaning to hold, to sustain, to support. The etymology of words is often interesting in understanding. In fact, it's not just often, it is interesting and necessary in order to understand the history and development of a concept, like the idea of religion. Religion comes from a Latin root, religare or something like that. I don't know Latin, so you can look it up, but it's something like that. And it means that which connects, that which connects. And so dharma is that which holds, that which sustains. There's another statement that's a traditional statement about dharma. Dharmo dharyate prajaha. This means that dharma sustains society. Dharma supports society. Dharma is that which holds society together. Dharma is that which makes society society. What's the difference between a society and a mass of people? Say if there is some cataclysmic event and people from several small countries, say in a place like Europe, where there are many countries close together, or in some other part of the world where the country is not as big as the United States, the people from different countries, different ethnicities, they all rush into the same area as refugees because of some cataclysmic event. That is not yet a society. It's a collection of people who have come with the common aim of self-preservation, but no other common aim. And so society is that which is an organic whole, which functions as a whole. That's the basis for the study of sociology. Sociology is the study of human group behavior, not the individual, but the individual is a subject of study in sociology, but as a member of a group, not as an individual. So dharma is that which holds society together. But that's just one meaning. The larger meaning is that it's that which holds everything together. Dharma is that which holds everything. Dharmo dharyate jagat. Dharma is that which sustains the whole universe, Jagat, the whole world, but not just planet Earth, but that which sustains the whole universe. So this is the derivational meaning of Dharma, that which sustains, supports, holds, upholds everything. And the more specific sense it's often used is that which dharyate dharmo dharyate prajaha, that which sustains human society. So now the basic meaning as it is, when you go to translate Dharma into English or other European languages, or it doesn't have to be a European language, to other languages of the world, you don't find in most languages a term, in fact, you don't find in any language except for the languages of India, a term which has the richness and all of the connotations of the word Dharma. But we have to translate, and so people do translate Dharma into English. Unless we give several paragraphs of explanation, we can't just say Dharma if we're explaining what Dharma is to a non-Hindu, non-Vedantic, or an audience not educated in Hinduism or Vedanta. So we have to give a word for it. So sometimes the Dharma is translated as religion. So Sanatana Dharma is the eternal religion, or the Buddha Dharma, the Buddhist religion. But Dharma is, again, a much more ample and rich concept than just religion. It includes religion, but it's not just religion. Another translation for it is law. And that's a rather poor translation, but it does convey some of the meaning. So Dharma doesn't mean a system of laws, though the Dharma Shastras, the books, the sacred books, the Hindus, called Dharma Shastras, are the law books of the Hindus, the Hindu religious law, and not just religious, it was social law for the Hindus. But again, law has the connotation in English and in European languages, law of something which is instituted by somebody in order to control human behavior. But Dharma is not that. Dharma is something which is in the nature of things themselves, as we will come to see. Another term that's used, let me come back to law for just a moment. So sometimes, again, it's used as law in the sense of the Buddha Dharma. Buddha Dharma can mean the religion of the Buddhists, or it can mean the teachings of the Buddhists, or it can mean sort of the laws or the principles of Buddhism. And so in that sense also it is law. Another sense that it is given is order. That is, the proper ordering of things is Dharma. And yes, that also is part of it, but that's not all of it. And again, order we often think of as imposed from outside, but Dharma is the natural order of things. And then sometimes Dharma is translated as duty. And yes, it has that sense also, duty. That which should be done. But that also is a very partial translation of Dharma. And sometimes Dharma is ethics or morality. That also is a part of Dharma, because Dharma means if you follow Dharma, then you follow the behavior proper to your position in life, which means moral, ethical behavior. But again, it's a much richer concept than just that. Dharma also is one of the meanings is the essential defining characteristic of something, that which is the essence of something, which distinguishes it from other things. That's the Dharma of the thing. And so everything has its Dharma, its reason for being, its purpose for being. The way it expresses itself, or that which it expresses, is its purpose for being. That the part that it plays in the symphony of the universe of diversity. So Dharma has that meaning as well. It also means observing the proper relationships with sentient beings and with the insentient world also. Having the proper relationship with everything, with everyone, and with everything in the universe. That also is part of Dharma. It also has the meaning of the observance of the proper rites, rituals, and traditions of society. That's another meaning of Dharma, all included in this in this word. And so it's this last meaning that I just gave, the observance of the proper rites, rituals, and traditions of society as Dharma. It's that meaning which has made India, and I don't want this to be misunderstood, has made India a socially conservative country. Now, conservative means that which preserves the order. And so India is, I'm not talking politics, because India in general is a more progressive country than the United States, and a more socialistic country than the United States. But it's socially very conservative. So we're not talking politics, the Republicans or Democrats. Talking about the nature of the social conservatism by which everything in India is preserved. In the West, the tradition for a long time has been, it wasn't always that way, but it has been for a long time, that the truth can only be one thing. If A is true, B and C and D can't be true. So if you find a truth, then you get rid of everything else. You hold to that. And if you find a better truth, then you get rid of the lower truth. In India, the idea was that truth is everywhere. Truth is universal. And so if you find something that suits you better, yes, you follow it, but you don't get rid of that which followed before, because that had its place and its purpose as well. And so as a culture, India has been extremely conservative, conserving all of the wisdom which has come down as far as they could. Of course, there were centuries and centuries of invasions and destruction that went on in India, where much was destroyed. The last destruction being, the next to last destruction being the British Empire, which destroyed things like the Ayurvedic tradition. Ayurveda is coming back, but Ayurvedic professors at Benares Hindu University, have the head of the department himself told me that many of the ability to identify ancient herbs used in the ancient Ayurvedic texts has been lost in many, many cases. Many herbs they don't know how to identify anymore. Herbs that were important in the medical system, surgical techniques and other things were lost because the British discouraged the practice of Ayurveda. And the last destruction is just the pouring in of Western culture and Western cultural norms, which have disturbed the cultural life of India. There's something about Western culture which on the outside is extremely attractive. The apparent freedom, the apparent spontaneity, the ability to do whatever you want, whenever you want to do it. When that comes even to a conservative country like India, then it shakes the culture to its moorings, because suddenly people say, well, why should I follow all these old things? Let me have something new. And so, again, this meaning of Dharma, the observance of the proper rites and rituals and traditions of the society, that has made India a very socially conservative country. And yes, that conservatism has gotten a major shakeup in the last 200 years, but it's still there more than in the West. So now let's come to the basic idea of Dharma. Dharma is that which makes this a cosmos. You know, the Greek idea of chaos and cosmos. Chaos and cosmos. Chaos is that which has no reason to it, no order to it, which is just, to use non-technical language, just a mess. Just an incoherent mass, which is a mess. And the cosmos is that which is ordered, where things have their proper places, where things are interrelated. The interrelationships can be studied and understood. Cosmos is a comprehensible system. A chaos is that which is incomprehensible because there's no rhyme or reason or order to it. And so Dharma is that which makes this a cosmos rather than a chaos. Dharma is that which is the principle of order in the universe, at all levels of the universe. at all levels of the universe, from the beginning to the end, from the top to the bottom, from the highest principle to the most expressed and manifested principle. So that is the basic meaning of Dharma, and that is the universal meaning of Dharma. And let me come to a more restricted sense, which is what we often mean when we speak about Dharma. It's consistent with what I just said, that which is the principle of order within the cosmos, and that is that there is a moral structure to the universe itself. Dharma is also the moral fabric of the universe. So it's not just moral, it's at all levels. That's why the principle of karma is often said to be the same as the principle in Newtonian physics, that for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. You take that to the moral level and you have karma. So everything that you do, it has a reaction consistent with that which you gave out. That comes back to you. So opposite in an equal and opposite reaction means opposite in direction. You give out, that comes back to you. And so karma is at the moral level, but dharma is at all levels, but it's often spoken of, it's often discussed in terms of the moral and social level, because that is what we need to know. The physical order, that is, of course, important. And all societies from ancient times have studied that. All societies have been scientific. It's just that they didn't use modern scientific methods of the procedures of modern science, of the same type of analysis and recording of data and recording of findings and building on top of that in a systematic and organized way. But all societies have been scientific. They've all wanted to know about the ordering of this universe, because you have to deal with it. And if you have to deal with it, you have to know what you're dealing with and how it works. And that is science. Analyzing your experience and trying to understand what this is, so that I can deal successfully with it. But that is at one level of our experience. But the moral sphere is less obvious. What is good, what is bad, that is less obvious. And so Dharma is often spoken of in relationship, most often spoken of in relationship to the moral sphere. So there is a moral order to the universe itself. The universe is designed on a moral plan. And this gives morality, in the Dharmic traditions, a very different basis from the foundation of morality within the Abrahamic traditions. Now, there's many similarities in what is considered moral and what is considered immoral. There are exceptions also, there are differences. But many of the not to kill, not to lie, not to steal, those are common. But the basis is quite different. The basis of Dharma is, morality according to the principle of Dharma is, the universe itself is constructed in a way that has a moral fiber to it. Being moral means being in tune with the nature of the universe. Whereas in the Abrahamic traditions, being moral means God has laid down the law. God has said, I like this, I don't like that. Do that which I like, don't do that which is hateful to me. And so law is seen as a contract between humanity and God. And if you follow God's law, you're doing what God likes. If you go against that law, then God will punish you, because that is not according to God's liking. And so therefore God is the judge, God is the punisher, also God is the rewarder. Therefore Judgment Day becomes important in all of that, because you are either accepting God's law or you're going against God's law, and it's personal to God. God takes it personally. So in the Dharma traditions, morality is in the structure of the universe itself. So the advantage of this is that morality is impersonal. It's not that if I do something wrong, I don't have to worry that God is angry with me and God hates me. No, I just have to be concerned that I have done something which is contrary to the harmonious nature of the universe, and that is going to set up waves of disharmony which are going to come back to me. And so it's an impersonal process. So God is taken out of the equation of punishment and out of the equation of judge. So you don't find God being addressed in Hinduism. Of course, the Buddhists and Jainas don't address God anyway, but Hindus don't address God, and Sikhs don't address God as the judge. So morality means harmony with the very nature of things, because the moral structure of the universe is part of the grander structure of the universe. There's the physical level of order, there's the social level, there's the moral level, there's the spiritual level, and all of these are part of Dharma. So it's because of Dharma, because of the moral nature of the universe, that karma works, the law of karma. I do something good, that rebounds to me in time. I do something bad, that affects me also. Why? Because there is this moral fiber to the universe itself. And that is what causes the universe to reflect back to me that which I give out. So dharma and karma are intimately connected. So where does dharma come from? I said it's part of the structure of the universe, but what is the principle on which dharma is based? It's based on the unitary nature of reality. Whether you are a follower of dualism or qualified monism, Vishishta Dvaita or Vishishta Dvaita, or whether you're a follower of non-dualism, Advaita. Dharma is the expression of the underlying unity of the universe. Why is there a harmony and an order to the universe? Because it's an expression in diversity of the underlying unity which connects everything. And so we have unity at the foundation, expressing itself as dharma within diversity. And because of dharma, karma functions. You do something and you get a result from it. So dharma is, again, that which upholds the universe. It's because of dharma that one season after the seasons follow each other. It's because of dharma that the rains fall. It's because of dharma that the crops grow in season. And so it was believed, and this I can't back up with any scientific evidence. It's something that may be true, may not be, may be found not to be true, but it was a firm belief among the Hindus, the Buddhists, among the Native Americans, and among people around the world, basically, that when the world gets out of harmony, when the rains are not falling, when the seasons are not following each other as they should, when nothing is happening at the proper time as it normally does by custom of the universe itself, then that's because of adharma, because of the lapse in dharma. And oftentimes, most often, the blame is put on humanity. Why put on humanity? Why not on the animals and so forth? Because humanity has choice, which animals don't have. We have the choice of following dharma or not following dharma. And so when society becomes adharmic, it's considered that the order of the natural order of the universe itself is affected by the adharma of, and so we can see at least part of that. Again, I'm not going to argue for the absolute truth of that and ask you to believe it because it's true and the scriptures say this. No. But we can see the partial truth of this, at least a part of it, in what's happening now with climate change. Climate change is not divorced from human activity, no matter what the deniers of climate change say. Yes, there are cycles in the universe that are not part, and in the world system, the Earth system and the sun and the lunar system also, cycles that are not part of human activity. But much of climate change is due to human activity. And so we see how adharma, it affects the natural cycles as well. So now let me come to a quick historical overview of how the concept of dharma developed, because that will help us understand what the concept itself means. So it's mentioned a number of times. I've seen different numbers of times, depending on who did the counting. 56 times it's mentioned in the Rig Veda. I think somewhere else I saw it was mentioned 90 times in the Rig Veda. So different people have different counting skills, I guess. But it's mentioned in the Rig Veda. And the origin, the earliest idea of Dharma was the idea that when the gods, when Prajapati and then the other gods created the universe out of chaos, they created the cosmos. It was Dharma which held the stars and the moon and the sun and the earth apart, held them in their proper places. So Dharma was just that which separated the things one from another, from the tendency of everything just to crash together into one big ball. It was Dharma which held things in place. And again, remember, Dhar means dharyate, it holds, sustains, upholds, supports. And so that was the first meaning. It was gradually in the Rig Veda itself, Dharma came to be more and more a principle in itself. It wasn't just the gods putting things in their proper places, but Dharma became a principle of order. That is, it became abstracted from the acts of the gods. And that's something that you see in religious history in different traditions, including in Hinduism. The last Sunday, I spoke on Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom. And Saraswati started as a river. Gradually, the river was divinized, as was the tendency in India from Vedic times to the present, to recognize divinity in everything. And so first it was a river that was worshipped because of all of the good. In fact, it was the source of the civilization itself, what made civilization possible in that area. And so it was worshipped as a goddess. Gradually, the goddess was abstracted from the river. The river dried up, the goddess remained and became a major deity. And so there's this process of abstraction that you see. And so, but there was another term in the Rig Veda which continued through the Upanishads. After the Upanishads, it practically disappeared. But that is Ritam. Ritam. R with a dot under it, T-A-M. Ritam. Ritam is mentioned in the Rig Veda also. Ritam is like Tao in Chinese Taoism. That is, the Tao is the way. And if you follow the Tao, you're following the way of things. Tao is the nature of all things, the way of all things. And so it's a principle of harmony within the universe. So Ritam was that also. It's the nature of the universe in its dynamic aspect. There were two words used in the Vedas. One was Satyam and the other was Ritam, that were often used in conjunction with each other. Ritam varishyami, Satyam varishyami. I will speak the right, the Ritam. I will speak the true, Satyam. So Satyam is that which is. Satyam is truth. That is that which really is truth. And Ritam was the right, but not just the morally right, but the right in every sense. The Ritam was the dynamic reflection of Satyam. Satyam was the nature of, was the truth of things. And the Ritam was the expression of Satyam in a dynamic universe. That is the proper interrelationship of everything, the proper relationship to everything and the proper interrelationship between everything. So to be in harmony with Ritam was to be in harmony with the universe and to be in harmony with Satyam, with truth itself. So Satyam, that which is, Ritam, the proper relationship of everything and to everything. Truth as expressed in this dynamic universe. So in the Veda, in the Rig Veda, originally again, Ritam was the principle of harmony in the universe, and to be in tune with that was to be moral. And so Dharma was acting in accordance with Ritam. So Ritam was the principle, the objective principle, and Dharma was acting according to Ritam. Gradually, in classical Hinduism, even in the Atharva Veda, and later, Atharva Veda being the last of the 4 Vedas. And later, you find that the Ritam disappeared. Why? Because it was absorbed into Dharma. It became a unitary concept where Dharma was the principle of harmony, and it was also acting in accord with that principle. So Dharma became an even more ample term. In the Upanishads, you find like the Taittiriya Upanishad, you find the Acharya teaching his disciples, Satyam vada, dharmam chara. Satyam vada, speak the truth. Dharmam chara, follow dharma, act according to dharma. And so this acting according to dharma became one of the pillars of the Vedic and Hindu tradition. Then you get after the Vedic age, or actually it's coming from the Vedic age, but perhaps written just after the Vedic age, or maybe even written during the late Vedic age, we don't know. Or at least the beginnings were written at the late Vedic age. The Ramayana and the Mahabharata, the great itihasas. The Ramayana being older and Mahabharata being less old, but both of them very, very ancient. Even if scholars say that the Mahabharata shows signs of having been written much later, that was perhaps the last edition of it. But the tradition of the Mahabharata and the stories of the Mahabharata go back to the Vedic age. And so the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, known as the itihasas, they're not known for their philosophy. They contain philosophy. They contain beautiful philosophy, but that's not why they are loved. They're loved because they teach Dharma. They teach in detail how one should behave here in this world by giving examples of people in their daily lives, making decisions, following the principles of Dharma. So giving ideal examples that are to be followed. In the Ramayana, the ideal of Rama, the ideal son, the ideal husband, the ideal king, the ideal brother, etc. Lakshman, the ideal younger brother, Sita, the ideal wife, and queen, and so forth. And so you get the idea of Dharma expressed in the living form in the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, so that those two epic poems, epic works, scriptures, which are in the form of epic poems, had a tremendous influence on Indian civilization, a deeper influence than the Upanishads themselves. The Upanishads are more important as fundamental texts on the highest truths, but day-to-day life is much more affected by the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. Ramayana gives the greatest exemplars, sort of ideal exemplars, and some people with weaknesses also as well, like the father of Ramachandra, and the Kaikeyi as well. But the Mahabharata, there you find that many of the heroes have many more faults than they do in the Ramayana. So the Ramayana sort of presents the ideal, with some exceptions also. Things that we're not supposed to follow also, examples of what we should not do, but by and large it presents the ideal. The Mahabharata presents more compromised characters, with of course the exception of Sri Krishna, but the other characters, some of them are very, very virtuous, but all of them are found to have some flaw. Even the great Yudhishthira has the weakness for gambling. And so you find compromised examples. The value of that is, there's value to both. The Ramayana with these ideal examples, which shows us that's what I should do. No question, that's what I should do. Let me try to do it. But the Mahabharata gives people like us, people who have some virtue but have some flaws also. And we see their mistakes, and we see what their mistakes lead to. And so that is the value of the example in the Mahabharata. And so there are 3 levels of dharmic expression in the Mahabharata. One is Bhima. Bhima, who's the embodiment of physical strength, is somewhat egocentric, not in a gross way, but he acts for himself. He knows what he's to do, and he just does it without taking too much time philosophizing about it. He's a man of action, a man of great strength. So the dharma of physical strength with the sense of being a karta, an agent of action, an egocentric, again, not egotistic, but egocentric actor. Then the second level is Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira is the example of the person who follows piety to the gods, who follows the social order and is respectful of tradition, respectful of the social order, and so how he acts. And the third level is the level of Arjuna, who follows spiritual principle. Now that, of course, there are exceptions. In the Mahabharata, there are many times when Arjuna is doing things which an unillumined person would do. But because of the teaching in the Gita, the teaching he received in the Gita, and his attempt to put that into practice, he's regarded as the one who exemplifies the attempt to put Dharma into practice at the spiritual level. So you have the physical level of egocentric action. You have the level of the one who respects the tradition, respects the social order, respects the connection and interconnectedness of everything. And then you have the level of the spiritual aspirant. And all of these are different levels of Dharma. The Gita in the Mahabharata, of course, the Gita is a part of the Mahabharata, and it's one of the wonderful things about the Gita, aside from the teachings themselves, which are wonderful, is the fact that the teachings given in the Gita are universal. These are universal teachings. That's why we read the Gita and we still feel inspired. We still learn how it is that I'm to lead a spiritual life and how it is I'm to act in my everyday life. Because the Gita is a text which presents truth in its universal aspect. Later acharyas who commented on the Gita, they restricted that. And that was okay because they lived in a very stable society in India, in spite of the invasions and things. India was, the Hindu society was within itself was stable. And so it took the teachings of the Gita and applied them to traditional ideas of varnashrama dharma. That is, dharma, the practice of dharma according to your position in life, according to caste, and according to stage of life. But the teachings themselves are in the Gita are wonderfully universal. Swami Vivekananda was the one who in modern times again brought out the universal significance of the Gita and the Upanishads. That which is there in the Gita and the Upanishads, but which had been ignored by the great acharyas because it wasn't pertinent to their time, but it is now. So, and then we get the Dharma Sutras and the Dharma Shastras after the Ramayana Mahabharata, which elaborate what dharmic action is. And so you get a famous verse in the Manusmriti, which is also included with a little modification in the Mahabharata, which says, Dharma eva hatahanti, dharmo rakshati rakshitaha, tasma dharmo nahantavyo, mano dharmo hato vadhit. So that means dharma eva hatahanti. Dharma indeed is the destroyer of those who destroy it. Those who destroy dharma are destroyed by dharma. And the next foot of the verse is the most famous, and it's usually quoted by itself. I've given the whole verse, but the next is most famous. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. Dharma protects those who protect it. If you protect dharma, that is by living dharmically, you are protected by dharma. So dharma is an active principle, just as karma is an active principle. One who one who goes against dharma, who ignores it and thus destroys it, is destroyed by dharma. One who protects dharma by following it, by maintaining it, is protected by dharma. Tasmad dharmo nahantavya. Therefore, dharma should not be damaged, should not be hurt, literally killed, but it should not be destroyed. Mano dharmo hato vadit. Let not dharma, by being abandoned, destroy us. That is, in simpler English, let us not abandon dharma, thereby making ourselves subject to destruction by dharma. So dharma, another concept, is that dharma has to be appropriate to the particular age. And so Swami Vivekananda used to say that we need a new Dharma Shastra. Now, knowing Swamiji, he didn't mean, because he was against this, he didn't mean law books that go into detail, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this in this way, you should do that in that way. Swamiji believed in broad principles which left people free, but with guidance within the realm of freedom. And so he said that we need a new Dharma Shastra. Let me say, I wanted to bring up, in fact, I'll do it just quickly because I wanted to bring this up. There was an Ashokan pillar, one of the pillars of Emperor Ashoka, that was found in Afghanistan in the mid-20th century. And it had two languages. It was not Pali or Sanskrit. It had two languages, Greek and Armenian. Armenian and Greek both being Aryan languages, Sanskritic languages, coming from the Indo-European family, and Armenian being a special branch of the Sanskritic families. So this pillar was in these two languages. It was like the Rosetta Stone, but it was these two languages, teaching the principles that Ashoka wanted to post in that part of the world. And so the word dharma was translated into Greek by the word eusebeia, which is a word used abundantly in Greek philosophy and also in the New Testament. And it's a very rich word. The reason I wanted to mention this is by seeing how they translated dharma, we can understand what they thought dharma meant at the time of King Ashoka, Emperor Ashoka. And so again, this is early in Buddhist history. This was it was written in what was it? Did I put that here? No, but it was in 250 BC, somewhere around there. I don't remember, plus or minus 20 or 30 years. 250 BC. It means to venerate the gods. It means a reverential attitude towards life. It means right conduct towards one's family members and also towards those who are not family. Right conduct towards others, family and non-family. It means behaving as tradition dictates towards the gods and towards others. And so again, you see that this was a rich concept in Greek thought, and that was used to translate the term dharma. So let me go briefly through other traditions, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism. In Buddhism, dharma often means the teachings of the Buddha. The teachings of the Buddha. It's the second of the three jewels. Buddham sharanam gacchami, dharmam sharanam gacchami, sangam sharanam gacchami. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in his dharma. I take refuge in his sangha, the order, the monastic order. So the dharma here means the teachings of the Buddha, his message. It means especially his fundamental teachings, the Four Noble Truths, the Noble Eightfold Path, the interdependence of all things, the momentariness of all things, the lack of self of all things, etc. These basic things. So it means the cosmic law and the cosmic order as revealed through the Buddha's teaching. For some Buddhists, especially the Theravadins, it meant the basic elements of phenomena. If you analyze the world into its basic constituents, you get a dharma. That is the basic principles of this that this world is made out of. It's the way that things actually are. And then you get the idea of the dharmakaya, the dharmic body of the Buddha, which is the ultimate truth. It's the source of all things, beyond the wheel of becoming, bhava chakra. So that which is the ultimate truth, the dharmakaya. This was only believed in by the Mahayana Buddhists, not by the Theravadists. So again, you see the resonances with the Hindu idea of dharma as well. The emphasis a little bit different, but a lot of resonance with because again, the two traditions came from the same. And Jainism, which also came from the same source, earlier than Buddhism, but it came from India as well. Dharma meant the teachings of the jinas, the perfected ones. And secondarily, it meant the traditions of other religions. So you could speak of Hindu Dharma, Buddhist Dharma, Christian Dharma, Muslim Dharma, etc. So the teachings of the jinas, and secondarily the tradition, the other religious traditions. It also meant socio-religious duty for the Jainas. And then for Sikhs, where Dharma is pronounced dharam, the linguistic changes that go from Sanskrit to modern languages like Punjabi, where dharma becomes dharam. It's the path of righteousness, and its proper religious practice and conduct is a dharam. So again, these are the dharmic traditions which all share a common root and common influence. So final thoughts. How do we know Dharma, that which is Dharma? The three principles given for knowing that which is Dharma. First is by study of the sacred books, the Vedas, the Itihasas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, the Puranas, and the law books. So this was one idea. By studying ancient texts with the help of a guru, studying the ancient texts with the help of a guru, you find out that which is dharmic and that which is adharmic, non-righteous. Again, righteousness is another translation for dharma. It's very inadequate and it gives the wrong connotation. But again, we have to use the words that are available to us. So scriptural texts, Shruti and Smriti, with the help of a guru. Second is observing the conduct of the good, those who are dharmika people, those who are exemplary in their conduct. And that's why we learn that from the Ramayana, from the texts also. But aside from the texts which exist, which we can study with the help of a teacher, we can look to the example of those who are in front of us, living people who are in front of us, who are exemplary or who are exemplars of dharma, of proper action. And then when those two are not sufficient, or when they're not accessible, then we follow the third principle, which is atmatushti, which means satisfaction of the self. This is the same as the idea in the West of the conscience. Many non-English speakers confuse consciousness and conscience, especially Spanish speakers confuse those two. But there's an important distinction between them. Consciousness means the light of awareness, whereas conscience means the sense of knowing right from wrong. And so atmatushti means acting according to your conscience, because that will give you atmatushti. It'll give you inner satisfaction. When you do something wrong, then you feel you feel a sense of guilt. You feel a sense that you have done something wrong. You've done something which should not have been done, and so guilt is moral pain. Physical pain, you put your hand in fire, you learn, oh, I shouldn't do that. Guilt, you do something and it's wrong and you know it's wrong, you feel guilty about it. That is moral pain that you feel. And so atmatushti is the opposite. That when you feel that which I have done, it was the right thing. And you feel a satisfaction within the self for that. So these are the three principles. Studying of the scriptures with the help of a teacher. Second, the example of dharmic people, moral people. And third, that which satisfies your conscience. So let me just end by saying that there are three levels of Dharma. Three levels of Dharma. One is the universal level of Dharma, another is the social level, and the third is the individual, where we come to Swadharma. I didn't speak at all about Swadharma because that would make the topic too big, but that is part of the larger topic of Dharma. So dharma at the cosmic level, again, is that which is the principle of order within the universe itself. This universe functions as a cosmos because of the principle of dharma, because there is a principle of harmony which is in the very structure of the universe, which causes the universe to function harmoniously. And then there's the dharma at the social level. Dharyate dharma dharyate prajaha iti dharma. The dharma is that which sustains society. The social relationships which are necessary for society to be in a state of health, to be in a state of order, to be in a state where you can interact with society and know that that the interaction is likely to go well. If there is no trust in society, then you can't even carry on business. If somebody says, "Well, I'm going to give you this for that," and you don't trust them, then you can't believe them. And that is the state that society around the world is coming to now. When I was a child in the 50s, we didn't even lock our doors to the house. The house would remain open all the time. Even if we went out, the house would remain open. You can't do that anywhere now. Only in some remote farming communities you can do that now, but even there it's getting risky. Because at one time you could assume, and not in the biggest cities, of course, but in other places you could assume that people were not going to take advantage of you. But now you can't do that. My own grandfather, speaking personally, my own grandfather, he would have been a very wealthy man. He was comfortable, but he could have been very wealthy. But he was cheated by many people. He was a businessman, and he believed, sincerely in his heart, he believed that if you said something to someone and you shook on it, then that was inviolable. And of course, other people didn't follow that, and so he was cheated out of his money. But society depends. The less that you trust other people, the less society can perform. And so a sense of social trust is built on a sense of society being dharmically ordered. The sense of, and to take an example right in front of our eyes right now, that a black man going down the street, the idea that the black man should feel that if I'm not doing anything wrong, I should be free to walk down the street like anyone else. But they don't have that freedom. They don't have that freedom. They have the awareness that they could be stopped anytime for no reason and be frisked and be checked and be looked on with suspicion because the society has become adharmic. Society cannot function unless people at large have a sense of dharma. Otherwise, we lose trust, we lose the ability to function in society because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how people are going to react. We don't know what people are going to do to us. We don't know how society others will take advantage of us. And so that is the social level where dharma is necessary. So at the cosmic level, at the social level, and then at the individual level. I have to follow my own dharma, the principle of my own inner growth, which is determined by my own inner qualities, the qualities of my body and mind, which determine that which is right for me. And so these are the three levels in human experience where dharma is observed: the cosmic, the social, and the individual. So I'll stop here. Dharma dharyate jagat. The dharma is that which upholds the whole universe and all of its levels. So now I understand that there is a question or comment. So let me first give announcements, and then I'll take that. For announcements, on Tuesday we'll have the Gita class as usual at 7:30 p.m. Thursday, the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna class at 11 a.m. And next Sunday, I will speak on the Drishya Viveka, the text, small text called the discrimination between the seer and the seen, the subject and the object. This will be a two-part talk, 2 Sundays. The first, but each will be self-contained. The first part will deal with the basic central thrust of the text. That is, the practice of discriminating between the subject and the object, why and how and the results. And then the next week will be other themes that are in the important in the text, the nature of the jiva and Maya. Okay, so now let me see what Surenji has here for me. Yes. That's a good question. I thought of that while speaking, but I realized I was running out of time. Conscience. Yes, the problem with conscience is, that again, I mentioned that in the context of Atmatushti, that self-satisfaction that you feel when you've done something right. The more we do adharmic action, the more we do wrong things, harmful to others or harmful to ourselves as well, and harmful to ourselves as well, the more dull the conscience becomes, until a person who can lie so much that they don't even know the difference between truth and a lie. They become so habituated to lying that they don't feel anything. They lie just in front of everybody, something that's obviously a lie, which they must know is a lie, and yet they feel no compunction in just saying it. It's amazing. So with people who steal, they're people who, Sri Ramakrishna gives the humorous analogy, and of course not an actual happening, but he said some people are so used to stealing from previous births even, that when they are born, they're coming out of the mother, they grab the jeweled necklace of the midwife in their hand. And so some people are so habituated to stealing that they don't think anything of it. So yes, that is a problem. So there, the principle of Atmatushti falls apart. The principle of Atmatushti only works in a person who is basically good and who has good motivation. Other than that, you cannot follow Atmatushti, because then you feel satisfied only in lying and in stealing. So here, Maharaj, is there any difference between one's dharma and one's kartavya? No, not really. One's dharma and one's kartavya. Kartavya, let me translate for those of you who are not Sanskritists. Kartavya means that which should be done. So is there a difference between one's dharma and one's kartavya, that which one should do? No, one's dharma is one's kartavya. One's dharma is that which one should do. So in that sense, again, as I said at the beginning of the talk, there are these different English words used to translate dharma. One of them is duty. And so dharma has that sense also, that dharma is our duty. That is our kartavya. Kartavya means a duty. So there's no difference there. And then Dhira, how should we respond in a dharmic way when confronted with adharma? Very good question. And so I'll try to treat it very briefly, which means inadequately, but briefly in respect of the time. When we are confronted with adharma, it depends on the circumstances. One way, of course, and a good and legitimate way. And this also differs from country to country, culture to culture. We find now that many people are out in the streets protesting the police brutality towards Black Americans and towards minorities and towards the poor. The poor whites also get mistreated. So it starts with the obvious and grotesque violence against the Black Americans, and then the violence which is perpetrated against other disadvantaged peoples in society. That is good. That's one way to confront it. That is one way to confront it. Another way to confront it is just to speak up when something is not right. That doesn't mean that one should be a moral police going around sticking your nose in everyone's business and telling them what they should and shouldn't be doing. No. But if something is right in your face, and if it's something which is harming someone else, again, we don't need to be nosy. We don't need to be causing trouble for others by being nosy. But if something is in front of you and something is wrong, and it's either causing harm or might cause harm, then you can speak up. In the Imitation of Christ, there's an interesting teaching there where the Thomas à Kempis says that if a brother, or of course we should expand it to a sister, if a person close to you, and he was speaking in a religious community setting, if someone is doing something wrong, then tell them about it in a friendly way. If they don't listen, then when the opportunity comes, tell them a second time. You can even tell them a third time. After that, pray for them. And so that is in cases where, of course, it's not a question of you see someone beating somebody up and you tell them nicely, oh, please don't do that, and they don't listen, and then after that you pray for them. No. But in a situation where it's mild enough, then the best thing to do is to warn a person, and then to realize that I can't make people do what I think they should do. So if they want to do it, then I have to pray for them. But if it's something more serious, then it depends on the situation. Call the police, step in to stop it if you can. Let me just give an example and then I'll close. Robert Louis Stevenson, he was a great writer, the great author of Kidnapped and Treasure Island, I think it was. Wonderful, and many other things. He was a wonderful writer. And he was also an extraordinary man, a great man. Once he was walking down the street and he saw a man beating his dog savagely. And so he stepped in and grabbed the cane to stop him from beating. And the man said, what are you doing? And he said, I'm stopping you from beating your dog. And he said, but this is my dog. And that's my business. And he said, yes, but God put me here to stop you. And so meaning that this is my business. So Swami Vivekananda said that, yes, it may be someone's karma to suffer, but it's my karma to help them out of suffering. And so there are times and places for stepping in. There are times and places for protesting. There are times and places for just advising somebody, and when they don't follow you, just resort to pray for them so that hopefully someday they will see the light. So that a simple answer can't be given. Okay, so here we'll stop. And announcements already given, so let me give a closing prayer. Om Sarvastarutu Durgani Sarvo Bhadrani Pashyatu Sarva Sadbuddhim Apnotu Sarva Sarvatra Nandatu. May all beings cross over the difficulties of life. May all see that which is noble and uplifting. May all attain to right understanding. May all beings everywhere rejoice. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us all.